Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Tragics NRL Supercoach podcast. I'll just start with saying that our usual host tonight, Dano, is very crook, so we'll all wish Dan well. We've just finished Magic Round and we're coming in around 11, and tonight we're joined with two special guests. So we've got Adrian. How are you, mate?
Yeah, going pretty good, mate.
Yeah, how was your last week? How'd your round go last week?
Pretty solid. Had Nico as captain.
Yeah,
I've had a slow start to the season. Had early setbacks to Tola round one, HI8 in the first few minutes. I had Ponga at fullback. So, I've started out sort of ranked out at around 45,000 and grinded my way back over the last 6 weeks and was up to about, I think it was about 700 or so last week, and now sitting around 220.
Okay, nice. Okay, well done. And what about yourself, Jacob? How you going, mate?
Good, mate. Good. I wasn't a very magic round for me. I started out really well. I did a little pod move and brought in Tomoko. So I was very happy on the Friday night. I had Tomoko and Preston. And then that was it, mate. That was 200 and something points, and I finished with 1,087.
I can't feel like I'm responsible for your demise this week. I remember us having that.
No, it wasn't you, mate. You put the figures out, and I remember I wrote on the chat, I don't know why people are selling Cleary for Moses.
Yeah.
And then we got into it, and then I was like, I can see the figures now. And I went back and looked at Cleary being rested over the last few years. And anyways, I did it. And say lovely, who cares?
I wasn't doing it until after the Warriors game.
No, mate, I'm no blame on my own, man. I make my own choices. I've got
luck factor.
That was the only, mate. That was one thing. Like that probably cost me 100 points, and I'm still 200-300 off the pace. Like I had other guys like Welsh who didn't perform. I had Haas didn't go well. I had Sloan. That was another dumb choice. So,
geez, I did more there. I sold Welsh last week, two horse.
Yeah, nice.
That kind of worked out nicely for me. And I've had Tarpany since the start. So I've moved down to 2K now. 3K, sorry. Moved up 2 more K. Adrian, I've had a lot of things go wrong. I've been playing with 16 around every round, and it was almost, I got through this round until 4 went down. Was it last round? Yeah. Every round there's been someone going down, but the only upside for me is that everyone that has gone down have been highly owned. Whereas in previous seasons where I've had pods go down, that they tend to hurt me a lot more. Anyway, so we'll start the pod off, guys, and we'll start with the first game, which is the Storm Broncos. And I'll come to you first, Adrian. Do you see anyone there that's a buy for this particular round, or who's a sell even?
Look, I think the theme of the night coming into round 11 really has to be mid-season. And we've got to kind of look at things in two different ways. Are you playing for overall rank, or are you just playing head-to-head?
Yeah.
If you're a newer player and you're not really sure why this matters, well, if you're just playing head-to-head and you don't care so much about overall rank, then having Origin players that aren't going to be there around 13, 16, 19 doesn't bother you because they're head-to-head by rounds anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're playing overall, then you've got to try and keep the points coming in those rounds as well. So Storm versus Broncos, we've got two very different kind of buy structures happening here. Storm have got buys in, where are you, Storm? Melbourne, here we go. They've got buys in round 13 and 19. They've already had one. So for head-to-head players, any Origin players in the Storm side like Munster, you're not really too fussed about. because you're not playing head-to-head rounds that week anyway. Whereas for overall players, Munster's going to be now missing rounds 13 and 16 and 19. So, you know, the other thing that's really different this year is the way the buys are split up as well. So, and on top of that, now we're only playing with in round 13, 16 and 19, you only need to have your best 13 out of 17 players. So there's a little bit less pressure there as well. So I actually like these changes because they open things up a lot more to strategy. But it also puts it back on you a lot more with your buy planning as well, actually knowing who you've got for what rounds, what rounds they're going to be missing for. You know, so you really got to look at your squad carefully at the moment.
So the question I was asking you, mate, is there anybody from this round that you would consider buying or selling?
Buying or selling? From a head-to-head perspective, it's business as usual. From an overall perspective, you definitely want to be looking at whether you might need to offload Haas for the mid-season because he's going to miss rounds 13, 16, 19. Same with Carrigan. In terms of, you know, standout kind of opportunity buys, I don't think either team presents any real standout opportunity buys at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Reece Walsh and Haas are the two that I've been questioned about the most. I felt Reece Walsh was a sell a couple of rounds ago, and but I do agree with you on Haas. It's been a question that's been asked of me or posed to me today is whether I sell Haas or not. And as an overall player, it's something I may consider depending on your other forwards and who you've got and what sort of depth you've got. I just wanted to comment on your 13. I actually got really annoyed when they said they were going to only score us from 13. The best I've ever done in Supercoach has been the years where it's been these kind of buy rounds and you've had to get to 17. And I've done extremely well in making up the numbers. And but having said that, I still see what you're saying about the strategy, and absolutely, there's a great strategy if you've got the time to work through it, as overall players will do. I'll come to you now, Jakey, just on the Broncos quickly, mate. Do you see anything in there at all that you like that you think you would buy or sell, mate?
Look, I don't mind the Herbie as a bit of a pod just for that buy round 13, 14.
Yeah.
I think, but you know, on the weekend, I think he got 60 with a try, and it was a bit of a junk try, so he's not as good as probably started the year. The other move that if I was flush with trades and I had Munster, which I've got Munster, but I actually could see the world where he went Munster to Cody Walker through the buys because Souths have got a really good run and Munster could get rested after Origin. So
yeah,
that's, if I had flush with trades, it would be 100% I'd be doing that, but I haven't, so.
Yeah, I've got Dylan Brown and Katoa, and I'm looking at going Katoa to Walker after 13. So I like it. Yeah, just because
they've got the Tigers this week, and they've got a really good draw. South. I think they only play one top 8 team in the next 5 or something like that. So
yeah, well, there's quite a bit to talk about when we get to the Bunnies game. So we'll all agree there's nothing that we would bring in. Herbie Farnsworth, I think he's impacted by Reece Walsh myself. I think that since Reece has come into the game and the way he plays, it's Herbie used to take a lot of them big solid runs and he'd bust through and make a lot of ground. But I feel like his numbers have been impacted by Walsh. I don't know if that's correct. It might be just my vision. I haven't any proof on that, but something I might actually look at because Herbie Farnsworth is someone that I owned a lot last year. Also in draft, and he always was very solid for me.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move into the Bulldogs Warriors, and I'll come to you first this time. So the Warriors do play the bye round, and they also play a bulk of the bye rounds, along with the Dolphins and the Eels. So anyone you see in either of these sides, Jacob, that we should talk about, Jake?
Yes, I'd love to get Tohu in, but with the bye that next week, I don't think I will. I think I'll get him round 13, potentially for, I don't know yet, but I might have to upgrade one of my dodgy, cheap second rows I've got in there, like Couchman or a Schuster if they don't get named or something like that. I can see Tohu coming in. The other player I'm really on a watch for is is Kiraz, because not for this week, not for probably 2 or 3, but I reckon round 14,
Yep.
he could be a really good pickup if the break even gets him and he starts getting that base back up. Well, you might get him at 200k discount, and he plays 16 and 19, so I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, Pangai, I think he's been a bit of a flop, and Curran. So Curran for me, at the start of the year, he wasn't even making the starting team. He was 18th man.
He's
So
still not.
I know. Well, he's in the starting team this week because
Only because of
Ford's
injury.
out.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are thinking about getting Curran, but I think once Tavanga's back, Curran might not even be in the team.
Yeah,
So
mate, there's people that are going forward to Curran this week, and that's just insanity to me. I'll come to you, Adrian. Who do you see in this side that you think's a buy or sell?
Well, Curran's definitely still a trap.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not even getting 80 minutes every time he starts Hedge.
Yeah.
You know, so he'll probably get 80 this week because he's coming in from Ford and not near Corey.
Yeah.
But Jazz Tavanga is going to be back in a few weeks' time. Ford's only going to miss the one game with a concussion because he's got the bye next week anyway. That also absorbs a week that Tavanga's out. Warriors have been very cagey with information around Mitch Barnett. So he kind of put me off. He put us off rating a few other Warriors players a bit higher because he should have been coming back. But his neck injury has been a little bit more long-term and problematic than what they've let on. And now he's moved to indefinite. Rumours around, haven't had anything solid from the club, but rumours around are that he could even be medically retired from what he's got going on. So that should have worked out for it could have worked out for Bunty Afoa, but it doesn't look like it has too much so far. But definitely Adam Fanua-Blake was a smart pickup a week or two ago.
Yeah, so 2 pods ago, I told everyone to get on Aiden Fanua-Blake and Gutherson, right? Then what happened was I could have done both them trades if I used a boost and got Croker, right? And I decided not to do it. And then the next week he went off again. And it was so frustrating because I couldn't get it. So Aiden Fanua-Blake is someone I do really like. And there's a couple of things I wanted to quickly mention. So I knew that would happen. Rounds 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 and 20. The Warriors play. Literally everyone except for round 16, right? They do miss round 12, as you know, next week. So those that are selling forward, I really question that trade. There's a lot of people this round trading out forward. And look, I get it. It's missing this week. It's missing next week. If you're a head-to-head player, as you're talking about, Adrian, then it might be the play. But I don't believe it's the play. The coach came out and said he's an 80-minute player and he will be playing 80 minutes. I can only go on that and hope that's true, but I'm personally holding forward. The other one I want to mention was Tohu Harris. I like Tohu. He's always been a super coach staple in our sides, but he's so broken that it's only a matter of time before he goes down again. Yeah,
we aged him out at the start of the season. He started strong, but the injuries came up. Once the injuries come up, you really lose the strong start that you had to begin with.
Yeah.
So we just can't go there. His age and body condition, too much risk.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said, Jake, on Kiraz. I like Jacob Kiraz. I actually have Hayes Perham. He's been my pod for a minute, but I'm looking at moving Hayes myself on this round. I'm not sure if I will or not to TAS, but it kind of feels sideways, so I'm not sure 100% that I'll do it. Anyway, the next game we'll talk about, and I'll come to you this time, Adrian. This is a pretty exciting game. I'm looking forward to this game of football. The Panthers versus the Roosters. Anyone in here is a sell? I think there's a couple of sells in here, and could be a couple of buys as well. We'll see what you got to say.
Okay, so I'm really unprepared tonight as well. I'm just stepping in at the last minute.
Yep.
Panthers have got buys in rounds 13 and 19. So for head-to-head players, you're not too concerned about holding the likes of Cleary. For overall players, really for most overall players by now, you're probably sitting on both a lot of us are sitting on Cleary and Hines.
Yep.
Hines is no certainty for Origin as yet.
Yeah.
He's a strong contender, whether that actually be in a six jumper or off the bench. But given they're going to go with Panther, with Cleary, that really makes it hard to split up Cleary and Luai.
Yeah.
So, my tendency, I'm going to be waiting until round 13 anyway. Yeah. But I'd probably be more inclined to keep hold of. It's kind of tough because Sharks have got to buy in round 17. So they've got to buy round 13 and 17. So for overall players, Hines is going to miss 13, 16, 17 and 19.
Yeah.
That's if he plays Origin, though.
Yeah,
if he plays Origin.
If he plays Origin. Yeah.
And if he's off the bench, he's got a much better chance of backing up.
Yeah, that's right.
In games as well. Panthers have got Cogger. I don't think Ivan Cleary's got any qualms with sitting Nathan out for a game and having Jack Cogger, run the side at halfback. So
well, they've done that. They've done that. I think he's missed 2 games. I think, unless it was from injury, but when I went and looked, when I was contemplating the Moses trade, I think he didn't back up twice in 2 years, for 2 years. So 4 games he missed after Origin.
Yeah.
So then when I did that math, I was like, he's going to miss 5 in the next 10 games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I ran through the figures last week, Jake, I was looking myself at going to Moses trade, and I still stand by it that it's a good trade. The only thing that worried me was the Cleary playing the Dragons round 14, backing back up. But I felt that the money that I could use going down allowed me to strengthen in other places. Cleary was the one I was looking at moving on.
I wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been half as upset if he didn't get the head knock at the end.
Yeah, and the water as well. Like that rain really cooled it. I just feel like the 2 teams that had to play the last 2 games on that ground, it just felt a little unfair, really. And then for it to rain on top of that just made it a bit difficult. Is there anyone you see, Jake, that you think's a buy? I can actually see 2 buys in here, and I can see a couple of sells.
So it's hard to buy anyone in these teams because they're not playing that 13, and that's sort of what we've got our eye on immediately. But post round 13, I mean, Angus Crichton, he's definitely got my ears pricked.
Shane scored a try last week.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. And Billy Smith's the other one that how he goes next week, I may have to get him in before, or just sometimes you could just take a hit and lose 50 grand and get him in round 14.
Yeah.
And he's probably perfect for me to sell someone who I've got in there, like someone like a Jack Bird or someone like that for round 14. If Billy Smith's gone well, I might have to do that. We'll just see.
Yeah, we'll see. So I've actually got 9 at the moment for round 13. I'm pretty stacked for 14 and I'm pretty stacked for 16. So I'm in a position where I can bring 3 in round 13 and I'm quite comfortable with that and just have to bring 1 in between. So what I'm actually looking at Gus this week. I really like Gus, and the one that I think could be a sell this week is Taruva. But there's a lot of people this week bringing in Farah.
Sold him last week.
Sorry, mate.
Sold him last week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a good move.
Like as of last week, he scored 2 tries, and not just Taruva. That left wing has been worth 2 tries, and they both came in 1 game.
Yeah.
Out of 9 played, which is unfathomable for Penrith.
Well, the problem is their centres. They had Targo there who doesn't pass, and then they brought in Peachy who doesn't pass. And on the right side, I've got the same problem. I own Toho, and you've got Critter on that side that doesn't let it go either. So it's not getting past the centres, which is really frustrating.
But it didn't stop May playing outside Targo last year.
No, well, it didn't. But May was a little different. Targo and May had a connection. They played a lot of their junior football together, and I just think Targo's just ignoring Taruva. It's like he's almost it's same as thing that I'm seeing with Sawali and Tedesco. Like they just don't want it's and DCE with Turbo for that instance. I'm just seeing these. Oh no, I'll go the other way, and it's just like I don't know. There's something in it, but I think Taruva's a sell. I think Gus is a buy. If you're an overall player and you're not stacked for numbers, don't jump on now. But it's someone I'm considering now.
Could have something to do with the fact that every time Taruva is set up for a try, he drops it.
That doesn't help.
It doesn't
Jeezy's a
help.
rock. He looks like a little rock though, doesn't he? Like he makes post contact meters for a small guy.
Yeah,
He must just be like a little boulder to tackle.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's
So
a
I
tough
passed on Khan Pereira and spent more money on Taruva and Isaac Thompson to get two more premium players.
Yeah.
And it just backfired totally. Neither of them did anything.
Mine did. I bought Miller and Holmes and then sold Miller and then sold Holmes. Like I had the perfect side to start with and just slowly ripped it apart to try and build up the spots.
All preseason, I had Miller and Meany, and I didn't start with either of them.
Yeah, I started him. I started with Miller, but I needed to get Hines, and Miller was the one that got me to Hines. So that was sort of how it happened. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah. So one of the most common trade-ins this week is that people are going to Ruva to Farre. I just want to caution people against that move. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who believe that Farre will play. I'm one of the believers that he won't. I actually think that he still lacks a lot of experience, and in defence, for me, he's got a lot of things to work on. I just think also that Bennett will stick staunch with Branco, but we'll see how it plays out. But even if he does play 13, that's his third game. That's the game where he goes up in money. So that's the round for me to buy him.
Well, I've gone the other way. I've bought him.
Yeah,
but, I made two centre trades. One with Isaac Thompson, the other with Warbrick, going to Farre and Alex Johnston.
Nice.
So the money coming from going down to Farre is enabling me to go to Alex Johnston.
Yeah.
Look, it's risky. Farre might not play next week.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be long. If he doesn't play next week, I don't think it's going to be long before he gets another game or two anyway.
Yep.
And Bennett doesn't have any qualms at all with who he sticks in New South Wales Cup this year.
Yeah.
Edric Lee, we've been projecting Edric Lee on the wing week after week after week, expecting, okay, he's back from injury now. Surely he's going to supplant Robert Jennings.
Yeah.
And no, Bennett's just had no problems at all leaving him in New South Wales Cup. Branko Lee, yeah, he's a good player. He's a solid player. He's at the back end of his career. He's past it. He doesn't offer the attacking threat that Tafare does.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling, and now Bennett's popped the cork on Tafare, it's going to be hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Well, I believe that most people who are doing a trade are doing it for the reasons you are, which is to trade up, trade down. And the last thing I was going to say in this game was, do you think it's too late for people to jump on Manu? I mean, I have Manu, and we all jumped on in the round where he got named at 5'8". But for those that haven't got it, I've had a few people saying, should I grab Manu? What do you think, Jake?
Mate, I don't think he's going to go up too much more. I think he could probably wait till round 14. But if you want to get him, well, if you're head-to-head, go for it. Even if you just want him. Like, sometimes I've overthought and I've overplanned stuff, thinking of the buys.
Yeah.
And we all think we want to get that extra 60 points in the buy round.
Yeah.
But if Manu outscores whoever they're going to get, say they're going to get Alex Johnson for the buy round, and Manu outscores him by 140 points in the next two rounds before the buy, well, you're in front. So if you want Manu, go for Manu. I mean,
which is a big chance. We'll come to that game now, actually. So the Rabbitohs versus the Tigers. There's a couple of things I want to say before we start. The Tigers have only let in one, from my understanding, 100 Supercoach score. They've actually been defending really well. But the South Sydney side have been on fire in attack. So this will be an interesting matchup. And we leaked to the right second row. So I think Campbell Graham this round could go Oskies. So I'll come to you, Adrian. Who do you like in this to buy? Obviously, you like Alex Johnson. Who else do you think could be a buy in this game?
I think Alex Johnson is the buy. Like I started round one with Campbell Graham. He was one of the first players I picked.
Yeah.
I took the discount on Latrell a number of weeks ago.
Yeah.
When it was on offer. Got in there at the right time. So I've already got both of those guys. The concern so far this season has been South have just been so focused on their right edge. Last round, it was almost like they made a point to, okay, well, look, we're going to be without Latrell and probably Campbell Graham during mid-season. We better make sure our left side still works. And that's all they did. They put on 4 tries on that left edge, really evening up the books between the left and right edge stats.
I
think Alex Johnson's definitely the buy there.
Yeah, I think the reason they went left was more to do with who they were playing. I mean, quite often you'll see in Supercoach that they'll play right or left dominantly in a particular against the particular opponent. And for this particular opponent, the Tigers, the place that they have leaked is right second row. And as you probably know that already with all your numbers and stuff. So I think Campbell Graham could absolutely have a mozza this week. But I'll come. Is there anyone else that you think could be a buy in that? Apologies, guys, for that.
Mate, I like it. Oh, you go. Sorry.
No, you're right. I'm thinking.
Okay, I'll come to you, and then we'll come back to Adrian.
I also like Isaiah Tass. I think he's a good midi. Like, there's a lot of these between 500 and 700k centers that you could get over the next few weeks that they're going. He hasn't got the floor. He hasn't got the ceiling. I think that Alex Johnson's got, but he's got more of a base. Tass. So the only worry is, if Alex Johnson's scoring, it's normally Tass getting cut out. So
yeah, that's right. Although Tass has Alex Johnson in a couple of times as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things. The one I really would like, and I don't know when he's back. When's Koala back?
I'm not sure, mate.
I tell you what, if he came back for round 13, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, I posted that on our page today if anyone wants to know, and I'll let you know later.
Okay.
I posted the NRL casualty ward.
If he came back in round 13, I'd be all over him because do you know what? South are going so well, and they are doing it with 2 edge back rowers that just aren't up to it. Like Host and Cheekham, they're just plugging a hole. They're good, like they're doing a job. They're first grade footballers, so I don't want to sound like a dickhead, but they're not strike like Koala, and they're not. They're just. So you can just imagine how strong Souths are going to get when they get those guys back.
Yeah.
Quite surprised that Arrow hasn't taken over right edge.
Yeah.
Left edge, sorry.
Yeah.
We've finally changed we've finally kind of put in to our forecasting Host for 60 minutes on that left edge longer term. But for the last month we've been Arrow, and it's just not happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Arrow's actually started a few times there and then moved to front row or moved to different positions on the field. He hasn't played the minutes either. I would have thought over Cheekham and Host 100%. But the way that the Rabbitohs play is they play up through the middle, then they spread left, spread right really quickly through their 2 good halves, Ilias and Walker. And I really like Campbell Graham this week. And I actually have the money. I can actually go Toho to Campbell Graham. And I know that's an insane trade to sell Toho, but the upside that Campbell Graham's bringing, it's hard because he's literally the difference between me and the sides above me. I have a very good side, and Campbell Graham's the one that just keeps killing me.
The problem for you now, though, is he's about to go out to Origin.
Well, I think he is. I mean, that's not definite, and that's why I'm going to wait to round 13.
I think it's definite.
Yeah, well,
I'd put it in definite.
Well, I mean, with the
fitness of Turbo.
I think Campbell Graham's in front of Toto and Addo-Carr.
That's what I think. He could play on the wing. I don't think they'll out Turbo, and I don't think they'll out Latrell. Turbo just needs to get through because he's
Turbo last week had a break made against him, and he gave up in 20 metres. Yep. He looked like a buggered Reggie.
But that's a fullback. When he plays for New South Wales, he'll play on the right edge as a centre.
But he can't run. He can't run.
What he does that's so good is he's robust. He's like a second rower on the edge. He's incredible. But look, we'll see how it plays out. I believe, in my opinion, that he will play. I just think New South Wales know how good Turbo is.
And Jack Whiten's spot's vacant?
Well, that's the one. Yeah, that's right. He won't play. So that'll be interesting for the 14, which could bring in someone like either Apai Cook or Hines. But I think Campbell Graham, I think Jake's hit it on the head. I think that Campbell Graham will be picked. And I think that he might take one of their wing spots opposite Toho. And that could have Toho, Campbell Graham, Latrell, and I've just forgot what I said. Toho, Latrell, Turbo, and Campbell Graham, which I think would be a phenomenal back line. But we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, guys, it's interesting. So the ones in this side that I thought were interesting buys, is, as we already spoke about earlier, Cody Walker. I think Cody Walker has got a good buy period going through, and he has that high upside. I'm looking at going Cody Walker. Myself, I'm thinking about going Ikatoa to him anyway, just to have the upside of having Brown and him. And
well, if you've got the cash to go Campbell Graham,
yeah,
Toto to Campbell Graham or Katoa to Walker, I'd be going Katoa to Walker.
Yeah, well, that's the one I'm thinking of doing, brother.
All day.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah,
Well, with the whole dynamics of Souths are going to change to the middle. Souths are one of these funny teams that have got really horrible buys for their Origin players, really good buys for their non-Origin players.
Yeah,
their only buys left now are 16 and 20, so they play both round 13 and round 19. Sorry, yep, they play both round 13 and round 19.
Do you know who could be interested guys for that game? Liam Knight. Through that duration, he will probably play at the lock position, and the other one could even be Blake Tate. I mean, I think Tate
but Knight will only get 45 minutes.
Knight, well, maybe
they'll only need about 45 minutes out of Knight.
Do you guys think Jairo plays Origin?
Gee, I don't know, mate. They've got some.
We don't have him at the moment.
So, he's going to come off the bench because this new role that they're doing with Madison and all those guys now, they're doing it to save an interchange. They're just bringing guys off after 20 minutes and they're playing 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and I think Jairo's doing that role from 14, and same as Madison, and that's what they're doing now. They're to save an interchange. So, I mean, if he's going to play 60 minutes, he's going to have 50 and 60s. I mean, it's not going to be a world beater, but it's only going to take one attacking stat, and he's going to have a 90.
Yeah.
So
Harvey Selly's really gotten cheap. I picked up Harvey Selly last week in fantasy. It was probably a week too early, but I think he's going to be a really good buy value-wise. So with the buys, coming back to the buys South have got, they're going to be without their Origin stars in round 13 and in round 16, by round 9. So I'm looking at the Broncos. Right, so they're going to be without their Origin stars in round 13 and round 19.
Yep.
Okay, and then they're also going to have the Origin stars backing up in round 14, round 17. So where they've been quite kind of Latrell and Campbell Graham on the right, I think through the middle of this year, they're going to get a lot more back to Cody and Alex Johnston on the left. Now, there's only 30K difference now between Isaiah Tass and Alex Johnston. If their attack's going to start going left for 30K, why would you mess around with Tass? Just go straight to Johnston.
There's been a lot of people in the past that never touched Alex Johnston because his base is absolutely terrible. But that kind of changed 2 years ago when the game sort of changed, when they had the 6 agains and they added to it. That really benefited sides like South Sydney. And but
he was solid last year.
Well, he was solid last year. I owned him last year. I even had Josh Adokar at one point, but the base is the problem. That's what a lot of people, I'm not saying for myself, I'm just saying that's what most people are, that's their deterrent to him.
Well, you look on the weekend, he had 76 points with 2 tries, 2 line breaks. So he's got 16 points in base.
That's right, yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, which is not too solid. But I do like him. Like I said before the pod, I like them upside ceiling players. And, if you can have a few in there that are base and a few in there that are high in ceiling, you can really get some monster scores and work your way up.
He's at 124K discount at the moment.
Yeah.
And not to mention, just for your mental health, Jesus good when you own Alex Johnston and he crosses for a triple.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Jesus good when you own Campbell Graham and he crosses for a triple.
I know. It's just, when you're watching Johnson and you own Cody Walker, it's just happy days. Sit back.
Do you know the week?
I think mid-season the Walker Johnston combo is going to be gold.
The week I bought Toho, I was 3K short to get to Campbell Graham. That week, it was so frustrating. It's a season of those kind of mistakes. All right, let's move on to the next game, guys.
One Tiger player, and I know he's only had 2 games at 80 minutes, and they haven't been great, but he's nearly bottom dollar as Tommy Talau, and they're going to play around 16, 19. So if you do need to free up money in 14, 15 of someone, Tommy Talau is someone, I think he's well underpriced. He just needs 1 or 2 attacking stats, and he can get up to 350 or 400K.
Yeah.
I did it last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's only played 2 80-minute games, so they haven't been great. I think they're in their 20s or something like that. But
So Tabula or not Tabula?
Eh?
I didn't go Buller.
No,
I didn't go Buller.
no. I have
I'm sticking with
Tedesco
Teddy.
and Latrell, and I'm looking at going Latrell. Sorry, not Latrell. Tedesco to Gutherson round 13. That was sort of my plan.
Look, he has some a couple of low scoring games in New South Wales Cup. So
Yeah.
you know, I think the wet weather against the Panthers really played into Tigers' hands. Would that game have been the same if it was on a hard, dry track?
No
I
way.
don't think so. But they've got some tougher games coming up, and I think, you know, Buller's really going to get put to the test over the next few weeks. But for me, like I've got Latrell at the moment and Tedesco has the Dragons round 12. Trell has Tigers this week. Both are premium point scorers for me. So it's pretty hard to dump one of those out to Buller at the moment.
Yeah. I said last week it's a silly trade. I think that's a ceiling spot, the fullback position, like the halfback position. And I think you can make your points up in other positions like centre wing or second row. But I do understand the reasoning why people did it. They traded down to trade up, but not for me. Look, we'll move on to the next one so we can get through these. The next one's the Cowboys versus the Dragons. There's a little bit to talk about in here. So the players of interest obviously would be Jack Bird, de Belin and Sloane. So I'll come to you first, Jakey. Anyone in that side that you think is a sell or a buy?
Mate, I'm putting it out there now. Tyrrell Sloan will never ever be in one of my teams as long as I live. He is the most frustrating player. Like, he's got so much talent. He just doesn't run the ball. He passes the ball at the wrong time. I bought him 2 weeks ago, and I've gone from rank 3,000, I think, like that, to 11,000, and I'm blaming him.
Yeah.
Good player, but he's just not Supercoach friendly.
No, not
I also got Jack Bird last week on the thing that he was going to be a lock, and he got 50. Nothing great. Jack de Belin is the one I probably would like to buy, but I just can't this week. I'm going to go, at the moment, I can go de Belin or Alex Johnson, and it's sort of like I go a safe one or I go the pod. So de Belin's going to get me 60 to 70, or I go Johnson, who's got that run and has a much bigger ceiling. So it's probably a double.
Sorry, mate. Sloane was a quick cash grab for those that did it. But I kept saying to people, if you're going to buy Sloane, don't buy him at fullback. Buy him at centre wing. You know, that way
That's what I did, yeah.
Yeah, and that way you just get the quick cash. And now if you've still got him, mate, you can move him on to someone. Like, you would have made enough coin out of him.
Yeah, but when I bought him for the whole thing to keep him for 13.
Oh.
And 14 because I'm playing the buy. So I was like, I'll buy him. He's going to make some money. Hopefully he can have some 60s and 70s. And I just don't like owning him. Hate owning him.
Yeah,
he's gone.
What about you, Adrian? You see anything in these two sides you like or dislike?
Well, on the topic of Sloane, I created a little bit of a acronym rule for myself a couple of years ago. STBE, shit teams backs embargo. Do not buy backs from shit teams.
That's right.
Whether it's fantasy or Supercoach, if it's round one and you know they're absolutely rock bottom and you're buying them for 5 or 6 weeks, maybe. But wherever possible, avoid it. Dragons are. I actually bought the Bellin 3 games ago, Forsberg 2 games ago, Cotter 3 games ago. So I'm sitting pretty happy there with those guys.
Yeah, nice.
Jack Bird, I bought in my centres a long way back with Lemuelu. So, you know, having Bird and Lemuelu in half my CTWs gives me a really nice healthy floor.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, so the players of interest for me, I think there's 2 that I'll talk about. So Reece Robertson. Some people are looking for a 9, and they've asked me about Reece Robertson. I personally don't like it. I think the only player that I would touch in all of this would be Jack de Belin. But Holmes is one that might be a sell now coming forward. You could move on to someone, you know, that plays through that 5-period coverage. But I go by the same thing. Like, it's about opportunities. And sides like the Dragons and the Cowboys don't get as many opportunities as sides like Souths or those sort of are ceiling sides. So I sort of tend to buy my backs as well from the sides that are high in ceiling. So we'll just pass that game. We'll move to the next one because this one's interesting. Both of these played round 13. It's the Raiders versus the Eels up in Canberra. This will be a cold one for the Eels. I'll come to you first, Adrian. Is anyone you see? There's a few actually buys in both these sides. So who you like?
I like Mitch Moses in round 13
Same.
at a huge discount.
Yeah, I was going to get round.
Yeah, that's going to, the people that didn't get on Moses last week, that's going to just work out beautifully. Gutherson's going to be handy for the mid-season.
Yeah.
I've still got Hopgood.
Yeah,
everyone should still have Hopgood. A few people sold him. Madison's a quality bring in.
Yeah.
You're paying for what you get with these guys. You're not getting any. There's no discount here. Yeah, you're paying for what you get. Penasini is another quality bring in for centres, for overall players, for just to tide you through the middle of the year.
Yeah.
How do you think he's going to go without Moses?
Should be okay because most of his scoring is an attack.
Well, Jake Arthur will come in. He tends to it's surprisingly how dominant Jake Arthur is over Dylan Brown. But Dylan Brown said in the thing that he'll step up. I tend to believe they'll go left more. There's quite a lot of buys in this side that I'll just throw them out there. So personally, Madison, who's been averaging 71 minutes up until last week, which I believe he'll warm back into that role. Then you got Hopgood, Lane, Dylan Brown, Will Penasini, Sevo and Gutherson. I think all of them are buys. But in the other side, I really like Tomoko myself and Rapana. I think Jordan Rapana, although he's priced out, he's pretty expensive. He's an interesting pod. He just seems to get there. And the other one that I'd liked at the start of the season, I wish I had jumped on, was Sebastian Kritz. But yeah, Tomoko was the one. I don't know if you've been watching. Every week I've been saying try scorers, and Penasini and Tomoko have been two of the two that I keep rattling out to everybody.
Would you really have wanted to remain Chris all this time?
No. My daughter went to school with him, so there's a bit of a heart thing going on.
Okay.
More than a super coach thing. And I've learned now to play super coach, not with my heart and with my mind. So no. But Croker's the one that a few people have asked me. So Croker's still got a negative break even. So I don't hate that if you're looking for someone to trade down. He's still at a fairly affordable price, fairly cheap price. You could trade down to someone if you're looking for a 13 that's still got a negative break even and still will make money. He was another staple in Supercoach years ago. I've never played without Croker prior to 2 or 3 years ago. Always had him in every side I had. And seasons I've finished top 100 doing it, he's always been very consistent. But yeah,
he's not the player he was 3 years ago.
Well,
5 years ago.
Absolutely. And Raiders aren't the side they were then either. He's although they have their moments, but I agree with you. But he's
I don't like jumping on. I think whatever moves you're going to make, be decisive with them.
Yeah.
If you're going to get on Granville because he gets named front row, don't stuff around with it. Do your homework, work out what you feel for it is, and either jump on or don't.
Yeah.
Where most people go wrong is they fluff around for 3 weeks and then they jump on when the opportunity is almost dead.
Yeah.
So if you're going to jump on Croker, I would have done it by now.
Yeah, well, I've already got Croker myself on the bench. He's there for making money and to play 13, but he's actually got a solid base. I mean, he's making 40 without tries, pretty much that base plus power.
But now you've got Savage healthy again, and Ricky Stewart's back in the dilemma now of Savage Croker.
Yeah.
I
think they're going to nurse him to 300 games, and I know other people don't agree with that mindset, but I just think they will. It's a big milestone to get him.
I don't think so because Kotrick comes back and he wrecks it.
Yeah, it was possible.
What happens with Croker? What happens with Croker when Kotrick's back in a week or two?
Well, we'll see then, won't we? But people have been saying it for 4 weeks that Croker will go when Savage wins.
I suppose Albert Hopewadi just disappears.
Yeah, well, that's quite probable. Yeah, we'll see.
Who's been good? Not from a great super coach, but Jesus, it's been good to see Bryce Cartwright. He is looking so good, interested, sharp. I'm enjoying watching him play.
What the hell's going on with what's his
Andrew
name?
Davey.
Davey.
I
Like,
don't know, he's
how's
only
Davey
420.
just popped
He's
up out
only
of nowhere
420 grand.
Yeah, and he's
and just
playing
playing
outside
60
Moses.
minutes and keeping Arthur on Cartwright on the bench?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Cartwright, he's very unlucky. You know, I started the season with the other second row, and I can't even think who it was now, but I had a choice between him and Cartwright. They were pretty much the same price, and I thought, I'm not.
Name Dury.
That's when I
I've
started.
still got him, mate. He reminds me every time I open my Supercoach page.
I got rid of him about two rounds in, but I to Schuster, so I didn't do much better doing that. But anyway, I had the choice of going Cartwright, and I've been burnt by Cartwright before, but I have to say Cartwright's been playing some good football, and I think he can feel himself unlucky to not be on that right edge getting 80 minutes. I think he's deserved it.
Yep.
Well, we projected Davey last week as playing 20 minutes because
Yeah,
that was the only thing. The only thing that made sense to us was
yeah,
Davey's going to play the first 20 and then come off, and Cartwright will play out.
yeah,
It makes no sense to us. In all honesty, like, it should be Madison right edge, Lane
Yeah.
left edge,
yeah,
Hopgood
100%.
lock,
Yeah,
Madison off the Cartwright off the bench.
100%.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year. I would 100% have Madison on that right edge. And if you ever see him outside of Moses, he's a great hole runner. You know, he's a great footballer. And I'm still of the belief that Madison can make the Origin side. We're not. We're going to have Murray at second row and waste him there, which is just frustrating. But I think Olakau'atu's earned a spot, and I think Murray will be the other. But Olakau'atu could end on the bench, and Madison could still get into the side. But his HI history is a problem. But geez, he's base is 61, Madison. When he, you know, like that's solid base. You know, and
Who do you have at lock?
who would I have at lock? I'd have Murray at lock. I'd have Yo coming
No,
off.
but who do you have at lock at the moment?
What do you mean?
Well, you're saying that Murray will play edge.
That's
So
for
who
Yo,
do you
wouldn't
have?
it?
Yo will be the lock.
Yo.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yo will, because of the Penrith connection with Yo, Luai,
Yeah.
and Cleary, and that the way he passes. But I just think that Murray, what he offers so much more, in my opinion. The way he gets them quick play the balls, his defense in the middle, his leg speed. I mean, it's just my personal opinion. But
I reckon, I think Murray is like that, but I don't think he's like that for 80 minutes.
No,
So
I agree. That's why you could have
he
Yo.
gets gassed real hard because he plays so hard, where Yo just is consistent the whole 80. So
Yeah, he does. I don't disagree with that. I see a scenario. Well, I'm pretty sure what will happen is Murray will line up at right second row. I'm almost certain of it. But I personally, you know, it's just my opinion. But anyway, let's move on to the next game, guys,
Okay.
which is the Knights versus the Titans. I every time I look at the Knights, I feel sick in my gut. I own Lachlan Miller, I own Bradman Best, and I own Greg Marzu in my and Ponga in my draft side, and I don't own any of them in my Supercoach side. And I did own Lachlan Miller, and I sold him. But anyway, who do you like in this one, Adrian, that you think in both these sides? Titans, Knights also play round 13.
I just brought Ponga back into my fantasy side last week, and he absolutely bombed in Supercoach as well. But I think he's going to, as long as he doesn't get another head knock, I think he should make some cash.
Yeah, okay.
Adam Elliott's coming back, but he hasn't been playing a lot of footy. I don't think we're going to see any big minutes out of him for a while. Kurt Mann's out with an abdominals training, definitely.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think there's an awful lot going on with the Knights.
Okay. Most people would own Greg Marzu, I would assume, and those that own Lachlan Miller, I wouldn't suggest selling. I don't see a lot in there else that I like. But on the other side, David Fifita, I couldn't believe that he's one of the most traded in this round. I mean, who doesn't start with David Fifita? Like, who's the insanity there? But anyone you see, Jake, that you would bring in or even sell?
So I haven't got Fifita, and he's doing my head in, and I just want to get him now. I'm not going to because of the buys, but I did some trades earlier in the week where I just got him because I was just sick of watching him.
Yeah, right.
At the start of the year, I went Cam Murray or Fifita, and I went Cam Murray. And then it just cooked me. Anyways, that's my stuff up. You know who I don't mind here and who's got a big ceiling and is Dominic Young. He's going to play the buys.
Yeah.
It's just a pod. I just like looking at these pods who can go big. If he gets a couple of tries, The other one who's been really good for me is Tanner Boyd.
Yeah.
He's actually now he's got a low BE. I think he's up near 600k now, so he's just
I
climbing.
sold him a little while ago.
Yeah, me too.
And he
Yeah,
just
but I'll turn him into Cleary.
Yeah,
thing is, you know what? He's so consistent with his mid 40s that he'll probably get a run on my team this week because I'm a bit short. But
well, I mean,
But he's come to life in fantasy for me, so that's good.
and you can.
what do
buy
you think happens? Sorry. What do you think happens with? So the other player I looked at, because I've been looking for someone a little bit cheaper who's going to plug a hole, because I want to buy Madison or someone like that for the buys. Now I looked at Lachlan Fitzgibbon. He has been playing 80 minutes and he's been getting 60s for fun.
Yeah.
But Adam Elliott's back this week, so that puts me off a bit because I don't know what that's going to do to him.
I don't think Adam Elliott's going to be playing any edge.
No, I agree.
Adam Elliott's going to be playing middle minutes.
Lachlan Fitzgibbon's outside Ponga. I actually really like that play, and I looked at it 3 weeks ago, and I'm annoyed that I didn't do it. I was going to upgrade Schuster to Lachlan Fitzgibbon, and but anyway, I didn't. But I don't hate that play at all, mate. Especially like you say, if it gives you the money to get to Madison, I don't hate it at all.
He's only 600k, and I'm just sort of like, so if I look at his scores, he's gone the last 7. He's gone 74, 72, 66, 72. 54, 62, 51, 79, 60. So his worst is a 51, and they're all between, and he's averaging 66. Right. For 600k, I reckon that's a pretty good buy.
Yeah, I don't argue against it. I don't hate that at all, especially.
I don't think he's. I don't think he's going to have hundreds, but he's just going to give you 60s.
But just remembering, though, Ponga will probably be up for Origin. That's the debate that a lot of people are still debating. It was interesting. I watched them on NRL 360 night talking about whether it'd be Reece Walsh and Ponga. And I still believe Ponga will get there, but we'll see. But anyway, just moving on to the last game, which is the Seagulls versus the Sharks. I also captained Nicho Hynes last week. I can't say I'm angry at Nicho because he's been good for me every other game, so we have to have one. There's always one, isn't there?
Well, 90% of people in the top 2,000.
Yeah.
My team is so solid at the moment that I didn't need to do anything adventurous with my captain.
Yeah.
So I vice captain Burton. Nothing special happened there. Had the captain on Hynes. He went ordinary. It's all right. Everybody captained him. Still scored 1,250.
My son said he was captaining Dylan Brown, which he did, and I said, look, I like Fafita and Manu, and I didn't touch either of them. But I had no Knights players, so I wasn't in a position where I could loot. So I really wished I could have gone VC Hynes, and then I would have put the C on Fafita or Manu. But Dylan Brown scored really good for me anyway, which turned out to be good. But the ones that I like in this side, so I do like Koala is named this week, mate. Jake?
Yep, I'm going to the game actually. So, and I think I'm pretty confident I will have the C on Hynes.
You asked me earlier on about Koala. He's back.
For who is he? Oh, Tato, Koala.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Koala from South Sydney, the edge back rower.
Kalamatangi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Koala, because that's the one he's
Kalatu.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
He's the one I was saying that I'd get on the edge for Souths. If he's back for round 13, I'd be all over him.
Yeah, right. Well,
anyways, Koala came back last week, and I actually thought that he would contain Reece Walsh a bit with his speed, but that didn't work. So
yeah.
Look, in this game, Turbo, I've got Will Kennedy. He's been a good pod for me. I got him a couple of weeks ago, so I thought I'd get him just because I like the way the Sharks are playing. I think anyone in round 14, if you get Kennedy, Katoa, Ramian, Talakai, or Muatalo, you'll be happy throughout the whole buys.
Absolutely.
Any one of them, they're probably all going to average around the same, I reckon, over the whole break. If you get lucky and pick the right one, you're going to be doing well. But I actually reckon they're all going to be within 10 points of each other because whatever their game plan is, they'll go right or left, and they all just seem to equal each other out.
I sold Reece Walsh 3 rounds ago, and it looked like a brilliant move for me. Like for 2 games in a row, he had pretty ordinary scores, and then he come out against Manly. But against Storm this week, it'll be interesting to see what he gets. But Yeah, I kind of wish I went Gutho in that trade with Aiden Fanua-Blake, but that's how it plays out. What about you, Adrian? Anyone you like in these two that you would buy or sell?
In which two we were talking about again?
Manly and Sharks, mate.
Sharks.
Manly. Oh, some of North juniors. So I have a natural aversion to Manly players to begin with. If you own Turbo, you've got to get off.
Yeah.
Get off the crack. It's
Yeah.
not 2020. Not 2021. It's not going to be 2021 again, ever.
Mate, he's still doing all right. Like he's had those couple of little rounds in the middle, but he's scoring probably he's looking better than Teddy.
He only looks one burst away from a hamstring injury.
Can I tell you a reason not to sell Turbo? And it's your very thing that you said earlier on in the podcast. If he doesn't make Origin, he'll play round 13. And I'm telling you now, Tom Trbojevic, mate, he's one of the greatest super coaches of all time, super coach players. And I do agree he's running lame at the moment. But the two that people are bringing in at the moment are Ruben Garrick, which you should already own, and Olakau'atu, who I think will play Origin.
Why should I already own Ruben Garrick?
Well, because he's goal kicking in a Manly side that's scoring in good points. He's been consistently good bar 2 games.
I've got Mitchell Tedesco, Campbell Graham, Joey Manu, Jack Bird, Connolly Lemuelu. I've now got Alex Johnston as a 5th centre. I'm not really missing not having Garrick.
Well, I have those. I have Manu and Garrick. I can't even remember who I've got at the moment. Toho. One of the other ones you just said, Dan, I have as well. But the ones that I had were Miller and Holmes that I should have kept. And and Garrick, Miller, Holmes, I like them ceiling sides. I personally don't like your back line. So I actually don't like it. I think you've got lucky with it. That's just my opinion.
Really?
I really don't. I like Manu and I can't remember who the other one was you said.
Campbell Graham?
Oh, yeah, I like Campbell Graham. So I like those two, right? But I don't like Alex Johnson a lot. But I do for this.
Well, I only picked him up this week.
Yeah.
The other, he's just Origin backup.
But I don't like Bird or Lemuelu. I believe that they are 45, 50 players unless they score tries. I think they're the kind of players you start a season with and build.
Jack Bird's averaging 60 without scoring tries.
Who's that?
Jack Bird.
Oh, Jack Bird is.
Oh, hey, Adrian, I got him in last week, mate. He ain't averaging 60 anymore. Everyone I buy, he's going down.
Lemuelu. People thinking that Lemuelu's last 2 weeks is a fluke.
Yeah.
No, it's not. If you have a look at his reserve grade edge games, he's scored tries. He's a centre winger converted to an edge.
Yeah.
He knows how to find the try line. And if you've actually watched the Dolphins games the last 2 weeks, he's becoming a real go-to inside 20. They're looking for him inside 20, close to the line, because he's got the muscle to get through and over.
I can see where Glenn's coming from because I keep looking at him going, he's fucking, and then he just keeps getting it done. And you just go, fuck, he's done it again. It's like Adam Fanua-Blake, right? I know, don't get me wrong, he's doing well, but if you bought him now, you've got rocks in your head because it's based on scoring tries. Man, the front rowers aren't going to score tries every week. No. So if you got on him, good on you. But I think if you bought him now, you're overpaying. And without those tries, he's having between 60 and 70.
Yeah. But look, one of the things that I've done in the previous seasons that I haven't done this year is I've built up my top very heavy. And then I've usually had that one player that's a second rower in my centre wing position. And then I have ceiling around it. And this season, I've stayed away from Lumi and the Dolphins altogether. I'll be the first one to admit I underestimated the Dolphins. I thought that they would be a bottom.
Oh, I massively did.
Same as you and Aiken. He's in the Lemu. Like I keep saying, Aiken, no, he's going to burst. He just keeps getting it done. So
Nick Arima's made a huge difference to that side. I feel anyway, like he's and Katoa's really stepped up the last couple of weeks too. He's starting to peak at the right time, and I'm actually debating whether or not I do go to Cody Walker this week, or I just told him and then get Cody Walker after 13. But we'll see how it plays out. All right, look, guys, let's move to the next section. I'll start with you this time, Jakey. VC and C options, mate, and I think there's a few nice ones apart from the generic Latrell VC and Hines C. What
I
are
think,
you looking at?
yeah. So at the moment, I think I've got the Sion Hines.
Nice.
If
Yep.
I owned Latrell, 100% my C would be on Latrell, I think, this week. Versatile. I'm a Tigers fan.
Yep.
He's just something else. I think I'll be going like a sneaky pod somewhere. I might even go like I don't know if I'll chase last week's points, but a VC on Tomoko or something like that. Or I don't know. I'm just going to see Hines, and then I might throw a VC on somewhere, but I don't even want to use it. It'd have to be something special, and I can't see anyone in my team going big.
Okay.
I might put a VC on Munster.
Yeah,
There
I
you
know.
go.
Don't hate it.
Versus the Broncos, Amy
Yeah,
Park.
Cleary. Oh, yeah, you can't do Cleary and Hines. So what about you, Adrian? What are you looking at as VCCs?
Just having a look at the game order. Well, I have Trell.
Yeah,
Look, the Souths in the last 2 weeks have reamed the Broncos, have reamed the Storm, and as improved as Tigers have been,
Yep.
they are no Storm or Broncos. So,
Yep.
And I would
yeah,
say
a
South's the
3
most.
p.m. game Saturday. Yeah, I think I'll put the C on. I think I'll put the C on Trell. I'll probably leave me putting the VC on Cleary Friday night.
nice. Yeah, that's that. So there's a few options that I've looked at this week. One of them was VCing Cleary and C Latrell. If I was you owning Campbell Graham, I'd VC Campbell Graham, C Hines. I honestly believe that our edge, that's where the points are going to come. We'll see how it plays out, but that's just my pod play.
Look, if Campbell Graham's getting tries, chances are that Latrell's getting the try assists
or Ilias,
and then getting the goal kicking points.
Or Cody, yeah. Cody's been switching this year.
Yeah, that's right, or Cody. I mean, it's a good chance. I mean, one of the things that Latrell's notorious for is being lazy. And in games where they are winning well, he tends to slacken off. But it's been an emergence of Latrell this year. I feel like we've seen a lot better Latrell, and we could see a lot of line break assists coming from him early in the game or at some point. So I'm actually VCing him. But I'll tell you a few others there that I looked at as options. Fafita versus the Knights, I think if you're looking for a pod captain, isn't terrible. Dylan Brown versus the Raiders, I don't hate. But yeah, mine's the same. I'm going Latrell Mitchell is going to be my VC, and I'm going to see Hines versus the Sea Eagles, who leak on both edges.
Do you know who I think could be a good sneaky VC? Might be Joey Manu.
Oh, absolutely.
If that's a bit of a tight game, Penrith first. He had 86 in base on the weekend.
Yeah.
If that is a tight game and he can somehow get an attacking stat, then he's having 100 plus easy. So,
I don't hate that at all. That's actually something I might even look at. VC him, see laps. So you've sparked something in me, mate. I'll look more at that. Last thing I want to say to you guys. Two things. Firstly, any bold predictions from you, Adrian? I know. Look, I just want to say to everyone first, I was given the hosting role at the very last minute because Dano's sick. And then I messaged Adrian and gave him very short notice. And Jake was playing sport when he got the call up. So none of us are coming here prepared. I think we've all done a pretty good job anyway. We know our game. We know football. We've had a bit of banter and a bit of arguing against each other. I always like that when we don't just agree on everything, which is good. Makes it more fun. But any bold predictions, Adrian?
Not really. But one thing I do think we should put out there for the viewers, if you're finding the buys really confusing this year, then definitely get on our website.
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to pay $30 for it. You know what? It's about the same as Supercoach Gold, but you're going to get 1,000 times more than Supercoach Gold does. Can I just put share screen on here for a minute?
Absolutely, you can, mate. Yeah, I was going to do that at the end anyway.
I've got your thing open now, Adrian. So round 13, I can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players. Then I go to 14, I've got 18. I go to 15, I'm full. 16, I can count all the green ticks and I've been using that for about 2 weeks now. And I can count all the green ticks all the way along up to round 20. And that is helping me so much by...
just on host disabled at the moment. Glenn?
What's happened?
It's just on host disabled.
Oh,
you just have to turn share screen on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's remember how to do that. Oh, yeah, here we go. Sorry, buddy. There we go.
Okay. So some people think that our our website's only for stats people. Really, it's for, if you're a Supercoach lover, then our website's for you. If you're not really into stats, that's fine. We've got projections. We've got price forecasting tools, all sorts of other things you can have a play around with. We've also got some really awesome buy planning stuff. So if I just click here on, my screen's up now.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. So if I click up on my buy planner, it's automatically pulling my team across from the Supercoach rankings. So here's my squad here. The red players this is currently for round 13. So the red players are players that are either origin definites like Cleary,
yep,
or on a bye. Orange players are origin possibles. So you can go through round by round at the moment and see what your squad is looking like.
Okay.
The definite outs, possible outs. Down here, we've also got a table that shows you by position. So I can see for round 13 at the moment, I've got a hooker, I've got 4 front rowers, 4 second rowers. At the moment, I've got 0 halfbacks.
Right.
And that's also taking into account origin definite outs. So anyone that's definitely out origin on a bye, that's taken into account. Over here, we've got a player table. So this is showing you crosses for if they're origin definite or on a bye.
Yep.
Question marks for if they're origin possible, and also possibly having the backup from origin. So we can see here, if we have a look at a player like Reece Robson, only 2 crosses, all ticks. He's gold through the mid-season for you.
Yep.
If you have a look at a player like Latrell Mitchell, we've got 2 ticks total, and the rest are crosses and question marks. So it makes it really easy for you to see, where you've got good coverage for players, where you're not getting anything from players between round 13, round 20. They're the ones to look at shifting on, moving out. So again, if you're a Supercoach fanatic, if you're not really particularly into stats, that's okay. There is so much in our site that it's not just for pure stats people.
Well, that alone, in my opinion, is a very handy tool for people that don't know how to navigate the buys. I mean, I sit down with my book and I write it all out, but there's not many people that have the time or will do that. You know what I mean? And I mean, for $30, if you can just go on, I mean, you pay $20 anyway for Supercoach Gold. This one's much more in depth. I love it. You actually gave me a code for it, and I'll talk to you about that later on. But look, what I want to say to all of our members is after I post our pod tonight, we'll post up Adrian's site again, like we always do. Every week he puts something up as well. Make sure you check it out, guys. It's a wealth of knowledge, a lot of work he puts into it, and he's evidently doing very well as well. I mean, ranked in, 400?
Yeah, look, I had a season high last year of 13 in my first ever year of Supercoach. Ended up finishing about 700.
Okay. Nice.
Back up to about 220 now. So, yeah, full transparency, I'm from a fantasy background. Yeah. And we've decided in the last couple of years, well, let's do Supercoach as well. Mm. But, like, our love of the game and knowledge of the game translates, and stats are stats. So, like, clearly the stuff that we're doing is working for me.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to finish the pod tonight. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Jake, so much for coming at late notice, and Adrian. Appreciate that. And just to say one more time, I didn't go through and say who's winning all our everything. I'm sorry about that. I'll go through and we'll do that when Dan's on next week. But thanks again, everyone. Dan, get better.
Yeah,
have a good weekend, everyone.
And Mitchell Moses, get better. I need you.
I'm sorry, buddy. I am so sorry.
So you want to be a champion? Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu's set up and thrown from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.